Namaskaram to all. Welcome to Clyde Samvada brought to you by the Hindu Temple of Scotland. We have Sandhya ji with us, and in today's episode, we are going to focus on Chidambaram, the place where Lord Shiva is in the Nataraja form. So that's the cosmic dance form of Lord Shiva, and that's how Shiva is present in this temple in Chidambaram. You might have heard about this form of Shiva in the past, both in Clyde Samvada itself, where we had in the episode discussing about mantras, we talked about the fact that the origin of Sanskrit language came during this cosmic dance that Shiva undertook, and the initial sounds that came from the Damaru of Shiva is how the Sanskrit language originated. You might have also heard about this form of Shiva in a global context, where in the CERN particle accelerator in Geneva, there is this form of Shiva at the entrance to the Large Hadron Collider. And in a local Scottish context, if you had been to the St. Mungo's Museum, you would have seen again this form of Shiva with a whole room dedicated just for a very large magnified version of this form of Shiva. So in today's episode, Sandhya ji would be talking to us insights about the history of the place Chidambaram, this form of Shiva, and all the other nuances around Chidambaram as a place and the form of Shiva. Welcome Sandhya ji to the Clyde
Thank you.
Samvada.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored to talk about Chidambaram and Thillai Nataraja temple today.
So maybe we can start by talking about the history of the place, the Chidambaram itself.
Yeah, let me start with the meaning of the name of Chidambaram. Chidambaram as such can be split into two words, Chit and Ambaram. Chit is the consciousness beyond mind and matter, that is beyond the realms of this world. And Ambaram is the infinity or the space. So Chidambaram as such is the infinite consciousness beyond mind and matter. And Nataraja, as you have rightly pointed out, when Shiva takes his dance form, he becomes Nataraja. Nataraja also is made up of two words, Nadanam plus Raja. Nadanam is a Tamil word which means dance and Raja is king. Obviously, he is the king of dance. So when Shiva performs this dance, we call this dance called Tandavam. This Tandavam is quintessential Shiva's dance. It is not attributed to any other gods. We only call Tandavam as Shiva Tandavam. There are so many different kinds of Tandavam performed by Shiva across temples in Tamil Nadu and outside Tamil Nadu also. There is Brahma Tandavam, there is Urtava Tandavam, there is Sundara Tandavam, and one important Tandavam is Rudra Tandavam. You might have heard of it. It is the Tandavam, the dance performed by Shiva when he does destruction. This destruction should not be considered in a negative sense. It is a process of constructive destruction, that is the annihilation of evils, helping us to realize the God. So Rudra Tandavam is one such dance, and the dance that is performed by Nataraja in Chidambaram is called Ananda Tandavam, the dance of delight, dance of joy, where Shiva reveals his purest form, truest form, Satchidananda.
Super. And that's the name significant. So what is is Shiva in a particular form? You mentioned about the infinite consciousness, right? So is there an element to the form of the Shiva in Chidambaram, and why is it called Chidambaram itself? I mean, I think it's the Akasha Sthalam itself, right?
Chidambaram temple has got its own uniqueness, and it can also be spoken about in conjunction with other temples. Before I talk about in relationship with other temples, I'm going to talk about the history. We'll be able to talk about the Panjabhuta Sthalam later. So the history. Chidambaram, then it is actually quite recent name. Recent as in it is still centuries old. But Chidambaram was anciently called Thillai, because this is the region of Tamil Nadu which was covered with Thillai trees. It is a kind of mangrove forest. Even now when you go to Chidambaram, there is a neighboring town called Pichavaram which is still covered with this mangrove forest. Because this place was covered with these Thillai trees, the name itself was called Thillai. Thillai is a very, very ancient name. It is even referred in Puranic texts. So this name Chidambaram came about during the Chola reign. Cholas, their family deity was Nataraja, Shiva, and Chidambaram was the headquarters of Chola kingdom for quite a while, and they wanted to build a temple where else other than building it in the capital of their kingdom. So they built this Nataraja temple. Actually, the temple as such was constructed in 10th century.
Okay.
But it went about a lot of architectural renovations throughout the second millennium, resulting in the temple that we see today.
Interesting.
Yeah. So coming to Panjabhuta Sthalam now, across Tamil Nadu, and there is one temple in Andhra Pradesh, Shiva is represented as different elements of nature. So we have 5 elements: air, water, earth, fire, and then sky or ether. Ether is the space beyond this terrestrial region. So for air, we have Sri Kalahasti, Kalahastishwara. And for water, we have Thiruvanekkaval, Jambukeshwara. And for earth, we have Kanjipuram, Ekambareshwara. And for fire, we have Tiruvannamalai, Arunachaleshwara. And for ether or sky, we have Chidambaram Tillai Nataraja temple.
That's really interesting how historically we have these connections between elements of the earth and the forms of Shiva. And it's not just sort of a random allocation. Like, I mean, in fact, we'll come probably to that in the later part of this episode, where there is a clear connection to why it's called the Akasha Sthalam itself. So that's really interesting. And you mentioned about the 10th century as to when the temple was constructed. Any sort of key moments in the last millennium in terms of how the temple has gone about in terms of its history?
Legend says that Chidambara Ragasyam was actually planned and it was designed by Devaloka architect Vishwakarma. Apparently, Patanjali, he got all these ideas, all the essence of the secret from Patanjali when he devised this thing, Chidambara Rahasyam. But as such, the Chidambara Rahasyam, we have multiple different historic references. We don't have any evidence as to when and what was constructed when.
Okay.
So we have a golden roof on top of the Chidambaram sanctum, right? Okay. So this golden roof was built by Parantaka Soran in the 10th century.
Again, Chola dynasty. Okay.
And across the Chidambaram temple, in the walls of Chidambaram, you can see a number of dance poses. There are literally 108 dance forms, dance poses that is displayed in the walls of Chidambaram. And these poses are taken from the Natya Shastra, Natya Shastra by Bharata Muni. Yeah, so that is the foundation of Bharatanatyam. As a result of this, Chidambaram temple, especially Shiva being a dancer himself in the temple, we are celebrating Natyanjali, an annual dance festival. It was first started in 1981. And it has been celebrated every year annually around Shivaratri time, where classical dancers from India and around the world come and perform dance in the temple.
Interesting. And it's interesting that there's so many of these dance poses. I mean, anything else about the architecture that has kind of caught your attention?
There is a lot of mathematics in the architecture. The temple as such, it is quite intriguing that it is a confluence of art, architecture, cosmology, astrophysics, and mathematics.
So many things, right? So it's just bewildering. Yeah.
I can't believe when there were no scientific advancements then this temple was still built with so much scientific innovations. So in terms of mathematics, there are 9 entrances to the temple. These 9 entrances symbolize the 9 entrances of human body.
Navadwara.
Navadwara, yes. And the main sanctum, it has got a golden roof. And this golden roof is made up of 21,600 gold sheets. That is the number of times we take a breath. An average human breathes 21,600 times a day. And it is fixed, these gold sheets are fixed with 72,000 nails, gold nails. That is the number of nerves or nadis in the human body. And Shiva here is worshipped in 3 forms. Number 1 is the tangible form, the actual Nataraja deity or the idol that we see in the Karpagraha. Number 2 is the half form, which is the crystal Shiva, crystal lingam, the Spadika, which is called Chandra Maulishwarar. Number 3 is the formless or the intangible, which is the Chidambara Rahasya. And to get to the main idol, we don't have access to this, but the priests do. To get to this main idol, we have 5 steps. It is called Panchakshara Padi. Pancha means 5, Akshara means letters, and Padi means steps. So these steps are made up of 5 letters. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. So that is one of the mathematics
links to the temple. And in fact, when I had gone to the temple last time around, I was speaking to the Dikshitas, who are like the priests at the temple. And one of the things that he again mentioned is that where the Chandramaulishwara puja happens, that is called the Pancha Sabha, if I'm not wrong, like 5-pillared place,
yes,
right?
the actual Kalpagraha has got 4 pillars.
4 pillars, okay.
4 pillars denotes the 4 Vedas, Rig,
Yes.
Yajur, Sama and Atharva. But Chidambaram temple as such is one of the Panchasabhas.
Okay.
It is a Push Sabha. Across Tamil Nadu we have 5 Shiva temples where Shiva dances, and these 5 temples are defined or named as different sabhas, right?
Okay.
So the number 1 is Thiruvalangadu, Vada Aranyeshwarar, that is the Ratna Sabha.
Okay.
Ratna Sabha. Chidambaram, number 2 is Pursh Sabha.
Okay.
Number 3 is Madurai, that is Meenakshi Sundareshwarar, that is Velli Sabha.
Okay.
We have Tirunelveli Nellayappar,
Okay.
that is Tamira Sabha, and we have Kutralam Kutraleshwarar, that is Chitra Sabha.
Oh, interesting.
And the tandavams that these temples, I mean Shiva performs in these temples, or the names are so different. In Chidambaram it is, as you know, it is Ananda Tandavam. In Thiruvalangadu it is Urtava Tandavam.
Okay.
In Tirunelveli it is called Muni Tandavam. In Kutralam it is Brahma Tandavam, and in Madurai it is Sundara Tandavam. In Madurai you might know, Nataraja as such, he keeps his left leg on the top, right?
Yes.
In Madurai alone he keeps his right leg on the top.
Okay, okay. Interesting, super interesting. Okay, so I think in multiple parts you touched upon the concept of Chidambara Rahasyam, including when you talked about the 3 forms of Shiva, which is, one is the dance form, and then you have the Chandramaulishwara crystal form, which is, I think, called a semi form of sorts.
Yeah.
And then the Chidambara Rahasyam, formless, which is the Chidambara Rahasyam itself. So Chidambara Rahasyam, Rahasyam means secret. So what is Chidambara Rahasyam?
Chidambara Rahasyam can be spoken about in both philosophical and spiritual sense. In the Kanaga Saay, the main sanctum of the temple, behind the idol of Lord Nataraja, we have a screen. This screen is kept closed for most part of the day. We don't have access to this bit, but the Dikshitas do. They open the screen only at specific times of the day or during special pujas. When they lift the screen, we can see golden bilva leaves behind it.
Okay.
So there is a symbolism here. The curtain here is the ego or the illusion, the Maya that is stopping us to attain God. When the screen is lifted, we can actually merge with the God. We can see the God and we attain self-realization and salvation.
Interesting. And it's, I think, opened on one day. The Arudra Darshanam is the day when the Chidambara Rahasyam is opened, right?
Chidambara Rahasyam is opened like multiple times during a day. When they perform the Archanas, Dibaradanai and stuff.
Okay. Interesting.
So this Chidambara Rahasyam, it signifies Akasha.
Okay.
It is this gold bilva leaves, it denotes Akasha.
Okay.
That's how it is one of the Panjabhuta Sthalams.
Super. And you kind of mentioned about the Dikshitas, who are, I think, the priests of the temple, right? So what other are the sort of unique elements of the temple, like the Dikshitas, for instance?
Yeah, there are so many unique features for this temple. When I spoke about the Panjabhuta Sthalams, there are 5 temples, right?
Yes.
So one of them is in Andhra Pradesh, Sri Kalahasti. Among the remaining 4 temples, 3 of them are managed by the HRNC, Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowment Trust. It is a Tamil Nadu government agency. But this temple is managed and administered by Dikshitas. Dikshitas, actually I need to tell a little bit about Dikshitas because they have got a history themselves. So legend says that these people, they are pure Shaivite Brahmins. They migrated from North India when Buddhism and Jainism was becoming popular in North India. They being pure Shaivites, they want to go and settle down in a place where they can offer their services and dedicate their lives to Lord Shiva. That's how they chose Chidambaram. And this is a community of Brahmins who live exclusively in Chidambaram. So there is a Devaram song which talks about all the Nayanmars, the poets and the devotees who have prayed to Lord Shiva. The first and foremost, it starts with Thillaivar Andanar. Thillaivar Andanar denotes to Dikshitas. They are the first and foremost of the Nataraja devotees.
Thillaivar Andanar, as in those people who are living in Thillai.
Thillai, yeah. So one unique feature of this community is that they have a tuft of hair in the front of their head, which is very similar to Nambudiri Brahmins of Kerala.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So coming to the second uniqueness, we have the temple festival happening in the Chidambaram temple twice a year. Number 1 is Arudra Darshanam that happens in June, July every year. Number 2 is Margari Thiruvadurai. That happens in December. So during both these times, the actual Nataraja idol from the sanctum sanctorum of the temple is taken out. He is pampered, offered abhishekam, archana, aradhana, and he's bejeweled and he's taken on a procession around the temple. The uniqueness here is that in most temples there will be two idols. One is the Moolavar, that is the actual stone sculpture that resides inside the sanctum, that cannot be moved. He's permanent there. Because he is permanent, during temple festivals, there is a substitute which is called Utsavar. He is the representation of actual God that resides in the Karpagraha, right? So he is taken out. He acts as a representative for the main god. But in Nataraja temple, the actual Moolavar himself comes out twice a year.
Okay.
That is
that's very interesting.
And Chidambaram is one of the Padal Petrasthalams. There are multiple Devaram songs referring to Chidambaram. Appar, Sundarar, Tirunjana Sambandar, Manika Vasagar, they all have visited Chidambaram temple and sang in praise of Lord Nataraja. And Tirumular Tirumandiram has also had a reference to Chidambaram temple. Tirumular states that the Nataraja temple is at the very center point of the magnetic equator. So the base of big toe is the very center point where the positives and negatives merge. Yeah, actually I went online to check whether this is really true, whether indeed Chidambaram is the center point of the magnetic equator. I see that the magnetic equator passes not exactly through Chidambaram, but somewhere close to Chidambaram. But there are several articles which state that this magnetic equator is not static, unlike geographic equator. It keeps shifting every few centuries or so. So probably when Tirumular wrote his Tirumandiram, it was indeed the center point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's just fascinating how we're talking about 10th century, when the temple had so much of science elements, be it the number of human nadis, be it the number of breaths, be it the number of doors coming into it, all links to the human body. And then you have sort of scientific links to the magnetic equator.
Yes.
And it's like so much of science going into
that's why I said it's a confluence of physics, mathematics, science, and everything. One thing I forgot to mention is that the main sanctum, the Nataraja, where he resides, right? It is slightly tilted to the left, which is symbolic to our heart, which is to the left side of a human body.
And in fact, like last time when I went, the Dikshita asked me to look through the Nandi's horns, and then you will not see it's shifted when you just see it, but when you see it through the horns, you can kind of see that it's sort of moved to the left, and that's sort of representation of the heart. I mean, it's just so many of these science and human body elements coming into a temple construction in that sense. Any closing thoughts that you have for us?
Yeah, they say, this is Tamil, Thiruvaruril pirandal mukti, Kasiyil irandal mukti, Kanjiyil வாழ்ந்தால் mukti, Chidambarathai darisittal mukti. The meaning is, if you will attain mukti just by being born in Thiruvarur, you will attain mukti by dying in Kasi, you will attain mukti by living in Kanjipuram, you will attain mukti by visiting Chidambaram. We don't have control over the other things, much control over the other things, but we have control over
just visiting sometimes.
So we can always visit Chidambaram and offer our obeisance to Lord Nataraja and attain mukti.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a fantastic note to close this episode on. Thank you so much, Sandhya ji, for sharing so much of insights about the Chidambaram temple.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Namaskar.
for inviting me, and thank you for the opportunity.